Now, I think the one major issue with the operation of stablecoins remains the issue of transaction fees. So I think the thing that has prevented them, for instance, in Lebanon, from taking off completely, is that you still need to pay sometimes half a dollar, sometimes a dollar, sometimes $5, $10 as a transaction fee in order to move your USDT. So some people are now talking about building Tether on Lightning. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's likely?
Well, it's quite interesting because personally, so I was in Malta in 2019. I met John Carvalho. There was Adam back there, and Giacomo Zucca and a few others. Right? We started talking about RGB. RGB was a protocol was built initially by Peter Todd and advised by Giacomo Zucco. So immediately when I came back, I pushed this idea internally where Bitfinex would fund the RGB development. We provided a good amount of funding to the project to at least start up. And then other solutions came by, Omnibolt, that is basically similar to RGB, but less, I would say, less elegant, much less elegant than RGB. Then we had, then now there is Taro, that is a solution proposed by Lightning Labs that instead have some differences with RGB, where you actually, so all the routing, the nodes part of the routing will not touch the dollar part, but will just provide an FX rate in order to make the two hand part is the two poles to actually switch US dollars around. So that is definitely, I see that as actually the holy grail of stable coins, because there is when I see all the layer ones, for me, the layer ones that we have today, apart Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, the only job of Bitcoin has to be secure, right? So that's it, right? You want the layer one to be as secure as possible. Even if the block time is 10 minutes, who cares, right? You can build, Lightning Network proved that you could build a really fast layer two solution. And all the current layer two solutions that I see, so the layer ones, so you have two types of layer ones, not excluding Bitcoin, you have two types of layer ones. One is that, and interrupt me if I'm becoming too maximalist here, but you have basically the layer ones that wants to be as fast as possible, right? You want to basically argue that you can solve all the problems of money transfers and data transfers of the world just with a layer one. You can go to 10,000, 50,000 transactions per second. So, but I come from the cypherpunk background, the way of life, and I believe that outside of the industry, you have outside of our industry, there are many other good industries that are growing. There is the artificial intelligence, and there is the Internet of Things that are growing as fast as our industry. So now you have light bulbs that are buying their own electricity and paying for their own electricity. You have fridges that are ordering stuff for you if they see that you don't have milk anymore. You have robots that are getting smarter and smarter if you see Boston Dynamics. So I see like a Johnny Mnemonic or like an iRobot future happening actually, right? And you need to expect machine-to-machine payments to be a really big thing. So we cannot be so naive to think that the 10 or 20 or 30,000 transactions per second will be sufficient. So, and even if you get to 500,000 transactions per second, doesn't matter. The future will hold probably 10, 30 million transactions per second. So you can see that to beat that, to achieve that limit, you would need to defeat relativity, basically. And it's, of course, impossible, right? One of the main obvious ways of layer ones to trying to push the number of transactions higher is to try to reduce the block time. But the problem with reducing the block time is that if you go sub-second, especially if you are 500 millisecond block time or 400 millisecond block time, you still have the issue where the speed of light is not sufficient fast enough to reach a global consensus. Because if you send, I'm in Switzerland, if you send a message from Switzerland to Tokyo, it might take 150 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds, depending on the network that you are passing through. And then, so imagine, so 200 milliseconds is just one message one way, but even imagine 150 milliseconds. Then the message have to go back, or at least have to reach other points in the earth. So in order to reach a consensus, 400 milliseconds are a really little amount of time in order to make sure that your message is spreading all around. So what happens is that you need to start concentrating the servers, because if you cannot have a fully diverse, geographically diverse network, or as a layer one, if you reduce the block time, you have to concentrate the server so that you get faster, the messaging gets faster. So of course, then you have the problem that, but if you do that, you have the problem of security, centralization, and so on and so forth. So, and that is the first type of layer ones. The second type of layer one is the ones that are saying, yes, we are going to be faster than Bitcoin, not as fast as the other layer ones that are trying to be sub-second, but we are fine to have layer twos. But the majority of layer two solutions that you see nowadays are centralized solutions, or they have a token that is creating an economy around the layer two. And many times I've been asked, okay, when we are going to have Lightning tokens? So when USDT can be on Lightning? But the reality is that it's really hard. So Bitfinex and Tether and are part just of a few group of companies that are actually pouring money in Lightning support. Why is that? Because on the other side, you have all these layer two solutions that have a token that can get money from VCs for a 100x return. On Lightning, you have only Bitcoin. You cannot make 100x on Bitcoin. So the amount of money, the amount of funding that gets into the Lightning token protocols will be always lower, because the return will be always lower. So on the Bitfinex and Tether side, we are trying to subsidize that. So sorry if I mix the different aspects, but I think is really important to understand the limits of the other solutions, because they are centralized, they have a token, their blockchain won't scale anyway for the next 10 years needs of humanity and machines. Instead of Lightning and Lightning tokens, you have an actual peer-to-peer network. Right. So if your fridge is buying the milk for you, why the hell I should care, right? Why I should care that you end up with no milk in your fridge? So that is basically, and that is what layer ones, the current layer ones and layer two solutions we talk about are doing. They are making sure that everyone knows or sees all the transactions. So they try almost always to reach a global consensus. Instead, with Lightning, you have two peers that exchange the information among themselves, because they are the only two peers that are caring about in that moment in time.